Today we're going to look at section 11.6, which still deals with factoring trinomials. So the same general topic that we looked at yesterday, but the one main difference is going to be, whereas everything we looked at yesterday was kind of like this, we have y squared minus 8y minus 9. So the coefficient in front of that y squared term, or in front of that quadratic term there, the squared term, that number in front there was always 1 in what we looked at yesterday. Today we're going to introduce when that number there is not 1 and how that changes things for us here. Okay, so our first example that we'll look at here is 2x squared minus 11x minus 21. All right, so same general concept here. Factoring is still the process of undoing multiplication. So I want to undo what happened when I multiplied two binomials together. Now we don't know what those binomials are yet. That's what we want to try and figure out. So first I'm going to look at the front here. Now 2. All right, so whatever goes in the front of my parentheses, whatever is going to go here and here, okay, has to multiply together to give me 2x squared. All right, well, the only things that multiply for 2 are 2 and 1. So one of these places has to be a 2x, and the other one has to be an x. All right, now for the back, all right, I need two things that are going to multiply together to give me 21. All right, well, 21, we have 7 times 3 and 21 times 1. Now, the big difference here is yesterday we would also look at these combinations in the back, and we would say, okay, which of these two can I then combine to also give me that middle term, in this case our negative 11? Well, when there is a number in front of x squared, that squared term that is not 1, we can't use that same pattern. So now it really just comes down to us guessing what terms will go in the back here and then checking to see if we get the correct answer. So I'm going to start with 7 and 3, and I'm going to put 7 in the back and 3 in the back of the first one there. Now, we did see yesterday that with our signs, that if this sign in front of our final term there, in front of just our constant, if that sign is negative, that the signs in my two binomials, when I factor, they're going to be opposite. Okay? Now, we see here 2x times x. Okay, so that's 2x squared. So this is our check part. Then I have 2x times negative 7. All right, so that's negative 14x. And 3 times x is positive 3x. And 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. Now, what I'm primarily looking at here is this middle piece, these middle two terms. And I want to know, do those middle two terms combine to give me my middle term in my original polynomial? So this original negative 11x. All right, well, in this case, negative 14x plus 3x does indeed give us negative 11x. So guessing the first time there, right, we came up with the correct factorization. So 2x squared minus 11x minus 21 factors into 2x plus 3 and x minus 7. Now, if we hadn't got all of those numbers correct the first time, or maybe there would have been some signs that we had to change, we'll see in some examples here how we might have to move some things around. All right, so the next example that we're going to look at here is 3x squared plus 17x plus 20. All right, so same concept. We want to undo multiplication. So I want to take this trinomial, these three terms, and I want to break it up into two separate binomials. All right, well, first thing I'm going to plug in on this one is I'm going to look at my signs here to tell me I got a plus here and a plus here. So that tells me that my binomials, my two signs are going to be plus. All right, now my front terms, so what goes in the front of each of these, has to come from this 3x squared. All right, well, 3, that just leaves me with 3 and 1. So we'll put 3 up front here and 1 in my first one, and then we need our x's with those as well. All right, but now in the back, I got a few extra options here in the back. So two things that multiply to give us 20. Well, that means we have 4 times 5 as an option. We have 10 times 2 as an option. And we have 20 times 1 as an option. All right, so now the process then is guessing and checking. Guessing which one of these, am I going to use 4 and 5, 10 and 2, or 20 and 1, plugging them in and then checking to see if it works or not. I'm going to start with 4 and 5, and I'll just start with 4 here and 5 there. All right, now we'll check. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 5 is 15x. 4 times 1 is plus 4x. And 4 times 5 is plus 20. All right, now again, what I really want to check is those middle terms. And I want something that's going to give me 17x. 4x plus 15x, well, that's 19x. That is not going to get me there, okay? So I need to try something else. All right, 3x plus and x plus. All right, so it may be a matter of just switching the two numbers, putting the 4 in the first, or the 5 in the first and the 4 in the second. It may be a matter of picking 10 and 2. So we kind of just, again, we just have to guess and see which one works out for us. We'll try switching the 4 and the 5. So we'll put 5 and 4 this time. Now we multiply. We get 3x squared. And then the 3x times the 4 plus 12x. The 5 times the x is plus 5x. And the 5 times the 4 is still 20. All right, look at my middle terms again. Now I have plus 12x plus 5x. Well, 12 plus 5, 17. So that gets me the correct middle term there. So the correct factorization is 3x plus 5 times times x plus 4. All right, one more example here for us to take a look at. And this example is going to be 5x squared minus 8x plus 3. So again, we're undoing our multiplication here. So we're going to have two sets of parentheses. All right, now if that second sign there is a plus, so in front of the 3 is a plus, and in front of the 8x there is negative, all right, that tells me that my two signs are both going to be subtraction signs. It's there and there. Now again here for the front of our sets of parentheses, all right, we want to look at what two things do I multiply together for our 5x squared here. All right, well, for 5, we only got one option. We got 5 times 1. All right, so 1 will be a 5x, and the other will just be x. All right, and then for the 3 in the back there, again, we've only got one option. 3 times 1. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll put the 1 here and the 3 here. And then we just have to check. So 5x times x is 5x squared. 5x times negative 3 is negative 15x. And negative 1 times negative x is negative x. And then negative 1 times negative 3 is a positive 3. Again, now we want to check that middle term there. So negative 15 minus x, or negative 15x minus x, gives us negative 16x. So not what we wanted out of that middle term. We wanted that to be a negative 8x. So I got to change something. My first guess was wrong, so we got to make a new guess. So we'll have our two sets parentheses. Signs aren't going to change there, but we got to change something. So I'm going to leave the 1 and the 3 the same, and I'm going to swap the x and the 5x. So let's try again. X times 5x is still 5x squared, but now we have x times negative 3, so negative 3x, and negative 1 times 5x, negative 5x, and negative 1 times negative 3, positive 3. Now we look at our middle term, negative 3x minus 5x, negative 8x. So there is our correct answer, x minus 1 times 5x minus 3. So we see on these there may be some different steps that we have to take, or some different approaches that we have to take on some of these to get those correct terms there. And the first thing we pick may or may not always be the correct thing. We may have to make a number of different guesses there before we get to the right spot. Now, as you do more of these, as you have more experience with doing these kind of things, right, certain things will become more obvious to you, that it will become easier to be able to tell which numbers you should pick, which factors you should pick in order to be able to get that center term there.